Cheers, Nina Myskow.
Cheers, Laurence Fox.
Myskow, you sound like a Bond villain. Where are you from?
Belsize Park.
Oh, right, I just had to check there. But where are you really from?
London.
OK. What did you make of all of that?
I think it was quite dreadful. You know, in this day and age, people should know how to treat other people. But having said that, what a tragedy for a woman of that age to have had a kind of unblemished career and such a supportive role within the royal family, to have it end at that age in such disgrace. Having said that, it was also about class, wasn't it? It was, you know, and where do you come from, my dear? It's that sort of.
But do you think it really was about class, or as far as I can tell, Marlene or Ngozi, depending on which fantasy world she's living in, seems to have been dressed in full tribal garb, if you will, and she's sort of sat there. I think, in my view, it'd be perfectly fair enough to say, "Where are you from?"
Yes, and I think perhaps she was being slightly obtuse, like I was when I said Belsize Park.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think if you've experienced racism, which undoubtedly almost every black person or non-white person has done, I think, in this country at some point, if not multiple times, because there's all sorts of racism, then you are going to be very aware and prickly, and you want to establish the fact that you are British, and that people shouldn't really question the fact that you're British because you look a different way from them. And I also understood that Lady Hussey actually just moved aside her hair. Just didn't say, excuse me, I don't know what your name is. She said, oh, I just want to see what your name is. Well, you don't, I wouldn't whip your glasses off, or, do you know what I mean?
Most of pity, love.
So I think it was unfortunate, really, and shouldn't have happened in this day and age. And it's a very sorry affair. But it has highlighted what is within the institution of the royal family and the palace. I think it's really highlighted that.
Well, OK, what about the other perspective? She's recorded this conversation, it would seem. She's got previous form on tweeting about how institutionally racist the royal family are, and the fact that Meghan and Harry have suffered domestic violence at the hands of the royal family. So she's obviously got a political agenda. She's recorded this and she's decided to take someone down. Is there any criticism that should be levelled at her?
I don't think she's recorded it. She's not recorded it at all. I think this is she said this from memory, and she had also two colleagues with her who can corroborate that. I don't think she had any plan at all. I think she'd been invited to a marvellous party at Buckingham Palace. Anybody would be thrilled. And she was completely blindsided by what happened to her. She said everything was a complete blur after this.
I get every single hotel I've ever checked into in the whole world. The first thing someone says to me is, "So where are you from? Where are you guys from?" Whenever I get it, probably I was thinking about it this morning when I was getting ready and getting out. I probably get asked, "Where are you from?" 10 times a week.
And I've had that about...
So why should it be OK to ask a white person where they're from and not OK to ask a black person where they're from?
I think because you have no problems, you've had no problems, presumably, as a white person living in Britain.
I had a few.
Well, a few, but nothing particularly racist about because you're English.
I've had a lot of... I've been called white privileged, which I think is a racist slur. I've been called lots of things.
Yes,
you know,
justified or otherwise, Laurence, but I mean, you know...
right, love.
Who's to know?
That's you off the old Christmas card list.
I'm just questioning it. Who's to know? And I think that the thing is, if you are in a situation where you want to feel part of something and somebody appears to question that, then you have every right to question it, the attitude right back.
So wearing the full African tribal garb, that's totally fine. No. And you go, you wouldn't invite you to go. I mean, if I saw someone in full African tribal garb at a party, I'd go, where are you from? And they'd go, Hackney. I'd go, oh, fine. Where's the garb from? Would that have been acceptable to you?
I understand that, and part of me agrees with you. But the thing is, she kept persisting.
Got to talk about COVID. What did you feel the minute you heard COVID was coming along?
I felt apprehension, like anybody would do. I thought, my God, I think when it started in China, we thought, oh, yes, there's something over there. And then it got to Italy. And then we started seeing reports in Italy and thinking, my God, that's awful for the poor Italians. That's quite dreadful. And then I realised that this country was not taking, or the government, Boris Johnson in particular, was not taking any kind of heed or kind of warning about what was coming down the track. And I thought, well, my God, this is going to be dreadful. And indeed it was. So that's what I thought.
You're saying, as far as recently as last year, you were still saying you're pro-vaccine. So are you still of the belief that everyone should get vaccinated?
I think the people who want to get vaccinated should get vaccinated, and the other ones who don't want to get vaccinated should query why they're not being vaccinated.
That's great. No, your position has changed. You're now pro-autonomy, bodily autonomy.
I'm not pro-autonomy.
You're not pro-autonomy.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I mean, you're twisting that.
I'm not twisting anything. I'm asking.
No. The thing about vaccines. Before vaccines, we had no protection.
Well, hang on. We had immune systems.
We had immune systems, but we have a country filled with people who are not very healthy, who's not just the immunosuppressed people, but people. As a nation, we are the fattest nation in Europe, aren't we? Or the next fattest nation in Europe. And actually, obesity is one of the real...
Massive comorbidities for it, yeah.
Absolutely. One of the real problems. And the point being, when you said that vaccines don't protect, what vaccines do, hopefully, presumably, any kind of vaccine. We're talking flu vaccine, we're talking whatever vaccines you get as a child.
Well, they're very different. Hang on, we can't lump all these things in together, because a smallpox vaccine is a sterilising vaccine. You tap the smallpox vaccine, game over. Polio, same thing. People have started to realise that we're noticing that pick-up on the booster is 10 million less people are getting boosted. People are starting to go, whether you like it or not. At least 10 million of them are going, ooh, weighing up whether I need one of those when it runs out after 6 months.
Look,
you criticised the young a lot during the thing, didn't you?
I don't criticise the young.
No, you did criticise the young, I said, during the...
In what way?
You said the young are getting far too close together and they're spreading this bug around.
What I did say, I think that was a discussion about increasing cases in the young, particularly those going back to university, say. And I said, I think at the time, I think one of the charming things about the younger generation is that they're very affectionate, they're rather touchy-feely. But that, of course, does not conflate with keeping your distance. It's passed on by respiratory, and by therefore you're breathing in, my breathing in, what you breathe out. And the thing is with young people is that that's the time of their life they want to be together. It's a physical time. Their hormones are raging. I understand all of that. I'm not criticising them for that. I'm just actually stating the situation and saying those were the problems. But the thing about any vaccine or any medical intervention, there is risk involved. Now, when the vaccine first came out, I did not think about it jump on it with shouts of glee. I too, I'm a thinking person. I thought, my God, how long has this been trialled for? It is something that we don't know. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I didn't rush around saying, yeah, jab me. That was not me. Okay? I value my health. I've reached the age I am of 108 by being...
Still look like a sexy bomb bird.
Thank you very much. I will not be deflected by that. The point being that I work hard at it. I've conquered my weight problems. That takes a lot. I deny myself ice cream. I exercise every day. I've walked through snow to get to the gym in my later stages of life, and to the extent that I am not on any medication other than a low-dose aspirin at my age, and I don't need specs. So I work hard at my health. I care about what happens to me. I don't want to be on medication, so therefore the vaccine is not something that I would have necessarily thought. But it seemed to me that the only way out of this situation for me, for the people I love, for the wider community, the world, if you like, was to have the vaccine, which gives people a modicum or a great deal of protection.
Exactly. I admire all of the things you said, right up into a modicum or a great deal. We're dealing in so many giant unknowns.
But we do know, because the cases have dropped. The cases dropped. Without the vaccine, we would not be at this stage. Without the people who, if you like, sacrificed themselves in terms of experiment, as you would probably think of it, to have the vaccine, because of them, risking themselves, as you would see it, we are now at a situation where we are pretty much okay with it.
What I'm trying to get to, and what I'm interested in, is the level of language. How you describe it to me now compared to what I've seen you say on TV. And I was actually on TV with you once. I didn't get a word in edgewise. I was on a Dan Wootton show with you, and you were talking about it. Is the level of emotion, the level of vehement righteousness that would come from yourself included.
I don't say I'm vehemently righteous.
Well, okay, that's my subjective view of what you were saying. I don't think is being given back in the other direction. And I think it shows something wonderful.
I think you must be very naive if you think that's not the case. Anti-vaxxers are the most virulent, angry, entitled people I have ever read.
They had their whole lives taken away. And now...
We all had our lives taken away, Laurence. We all had our lives taken away. That was the thing. And I think perhaps, as you say that, I'm wondering if that's why people are so vehement, because they had their lives taken away from them. It was something. And they were levelled out. They were no longer special.
Some people didn't have their lives taken away. Our little servile class who drive their little Amazon vans and their Ubers and various things, their lives didn't get taken away.
No, that was...
us middle class people got to sit at home and not spend any money because we were frightened of getting a virus. But if you worked in Waitrose on the minimum wage, or if you worked somewhere else on the minimum wage, you lived in a totally two-tier society.
It was completely dreadful. And, we rightly applauded the nurses, the doctors. What we forget about the people who worked in supermarkets, who had to keep going, and the bus drivers, because they were in constant contact. I mean, that was just awful. Then, thank goodness, the vaccine came along and worked.
Well, they were working even when the vaccine didn't come along.
Well, absolutely, and they were heroes, and nobody was beating,
No one was clapping them.
No, exactly, but they should.
But now,
they should
are we
have
still
been.
going to? We've just yesterday received the new figures for the National Health Service waiting lists, and they're up again. So, is the National Health Service this thing that every single government keeps just throwing money at, which keeps getting worse and worse and worse? Is it fit for purpose?
Well, I think it's really badly run. I think there are far too many administrators, and the reason that it's at this stage and we're on our knees and we have excess deaths because people with cancer, people with heart failure, people who are potential stroke victims didn't go to their doctors or couldn't get treatment early enough. That is dreadful. But that is like a war situation. But the thing is with the national health, it needs to be better organised. It needs to be... It is the people who work within it, the nurses and doctors that you encounter are wonderful people.
They're great.
And they are on their knees. And they are entitled to strike because they really... Come on. Well, I think they're entitled to strike. Every human being has the right to withdraw their labour.
Doctors and nurses are entitled to strike?
They are entitled to strike. Wow. Because every human being, I don't think they should strike, but the reason is they've been driven to it. The fact that nurses have to go to food banks, how is that?
Nina, it's been lovely talking to you, and I meant to keep all of this stuff fluffy and light, but I'm always much more into the game. So thank you for meeting and talking.
Great pleasure.